gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good Tuesday morning, Bakersfield and surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Good morning it is.
Let them know what they're in for.
2 hours.
2 hours.
No, we'll get into the rigged NBA lottery. We'll recap.
We're already calling it that, huh?
We'll recap the two games from last night, which I am smiling if you're watching the video because the Knicks pulled it off in a weird fashion. But we'll also preview the games tonight, as well as some news out of the NFL, some injuries and retirement out of baseball. And then we'll have KG, 24 KG from Hits 93.1 joining us at the top of the hour. We'll recap Raw, and we'll hear what he thinks about what Backlash and maybe the preview of Saturday night's main event as matches are getting set up. And then we'll have snacks at 8:30 to talk basketball. And then we'll pretty much, and we have a trivia today. It is Tuesday.
Yes.
Trivia Tuesday. And if you'd like to go to Kids Fest, get those kiddos out of the house this weekend. We've got some Kids Fest tickets to give away, some water slides and
bounce houses and whatnot.
Hopefully the rain moves because I looked at the weather this morning and it looks like rain Saturday and Sunday.
Does it really? I haven't even looked at the forecasts for this weekend yet.
But you never know. That's days away. They could barely get the weather right for today. So
I was gonna say, the weird thing about Bakersfield is that the weather changes per hour.
Yes,
it is not.
Yesterday was supposed to be 90 on the weekend, so
it's a weird thing. Much like Texas, for those of you who are listening in Texas, the weather here is very, very similar. It's a bipolar mess.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful this morning. So I'll take that.
I'll take the breeze we had yesterday. That was fantastic. Yes. I had my window open all night. It was great.
And I was a jackass. I forgot my my fob key. So when I got here this morning, I had to turn around and go back home. So that's how my morning started.
How do you expect to get into the studio without your key, Sparky?
I took it off yesterday and I put it by the headphones and I didn't even think about it.
No,
I was in a hurry yesterday when I left.
I probably looked at him about a half a dozen times too before I left here last night at 7:00, and you're probably right. I probably looked right at him and said, "Oh,
I was
wonder
totally
who those are."
Jackass.
That is what it is. But we had the NBA lottery last night, so let's start there as the Dallas Mavericks somehow sneak into the first overall pick for the first time in their franchise's history, if I'm not mistaken. 1.8% chance to win the number one overall pick. The San Antonio Spurs will be your number two pick. I believe they had a 12% chance to even get into the top three. There's a reason why Sparky said that he believes this is rigged, and I'm going to let him go in on why he get his thoughts on this.
Well, this is the first lottery, I believe, for years that I've actually watched live. I've always just waited for the headlines to come up.
Yeah.
And I had no dogs. I mean, I wanted the Bulls, but of course they got 12, and that was over quick because they only picked the first 14. So I was like, okay.
And I would like to sit here and tell you, well, you were in the play-in tournament. Of course you're going to be in the teens.
But I was
can't
just
say it.
It's a lottery. So I figured, there's a chance. But I was surprised because I'm old school. I thought it would have the lottery balls and they would actually do a lottery.
Right.
So when the goofy little midget came out with the cards, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And sure enough, they were all in envelopes and passed out. And I'm like, really? Like, this isn't rigged at all. And I was telling my buddy, I was like, dude, if Dallas gets the number one, we talked about this yesterday. I mean, isn't it ironic that it's right after they trade Luka and Nico gets bashed by the media for months? And what do you know? They get the number one pick. So I was doing some research. So in 2011, the Pelicans traded Chris Paul and they got the number one pick in 2012. in the lottery. In 2018, same thing. They traded AD and they got the number 1 pick the next year. And last year or this year, Dallas trades Luka and they get the pick. So I don't know if it's just really a lottery or, I mean, come on.
I don't necessarily think the Luka trade had anything to do with this. Although I will agree that the Dallas Mavericks are the number 1 team in the NBA right now in terms of needing PR help. And for those, I had a couple people come to me and say, "Oh, look, Nico doesn't seem as dumb now." Why?
Yeah, he does.
No, like what? I'm sorry. Was this the Lakers draft pick? Was this the, a draft pick that was gained from the Luka trade? No, none of that was. In fact, this is the draft pick that honestly they should have been where the Bulls are right now in the teens because they were in the play-in tournament. So this does not absolve Nico from anything. For anybody to sit there and say this makes Nico look good, you are full of it. You clearly don't understand what happened because that's not at all what this does.
Well, even the announcers were saying, "Oh, well, this gives Nico a second chance."
Definitely gives him a second chance to fix it, 100%.
And this is Michelle Smallman talking just about that.
Is there any franchise that needed this more than the Dallas Mavericks when you really think about it? They had a fan base that was revolting against them. They had a fan base that felt like they were the enemy, that the actual organization was the enemy. And all of a sudden you have this young American-born superstar that you have the opportunity to pick. You know who's going to put butts in seats and bring people back to loving this franchise? It's Cooper Flagg.
100%. And I mean, it'd be cool to see him, play with AD and Kyrie, but I mean, they really didn't need the number 1 pick. And it's just, just seemed a bit ironic, if you ask me.
Ironic that's a way to put it. This doesn't seem right to me. And I won't sit here and say it's rigged because I don't know how this stuff rolls, and plus being someone who is an avid Cleveland Cavalier fan, I really can't talk because if we want to talk about rigged, but this seems really, really weird at an odd time. In the weirder part to me was 2 and 3 are the San Antonio Spurs and the Philadelphia 76ers, who both definitely don't need the number 1 overall pick. And honestly, I just don't understand. Like, you had 3 teams at 14%. They ended up 4, 5, and 6. How does that make sense to anybody?
In a perfect order.
In perfect order. Just so happened to be 4, 5, and 6. I think honestly, we need to go back to the lottery ball style of how this works.
Yeah.
You need to do it right in front of us and let the ball roll as it will. Because I mean, again, I know there's the conspiracy theory that they skewed it a couple years ago to make sure Victor went to the Spurs. And I know everybody says that it's been rigged since the Cavaliers won multiple years in a row. Or not in a row, but multiple years in like a 4 or 5 year span. I totally get the conspiracies around how this type of thing could be rigged, but doing it this way doesn't help anybody. And honestly, if you sit there and tell me that the Dallas Mavericks won legitimately, I'm gonna have to say, show me the proof.
Yeah, and I don't want to be like the old man and be anti everything and get off my lawn type show, but it just felt wrong. It felt rigged, but I mean, good for them. And yeah, I see, knowing Nico, he'll find a way to screw this up just like he always does.
Well, I mean, that's what I texted you last night, right? It's like, imagine Nico doesn't take Cooper Flagg at number 1. Imagine he takes Dylan Harper or somebody that's more defensive minded, because that's what he said, right? He wants a defensive minded team. The defense is going to win him the championship. Look, man, I get it, but I agree with you. Nico Harrison will find a way to mess this up. He will find a way. Either he'll draft Cooper and trade away Kyrie or something like that. Like, he will find a way to keep the Dallas Mavericks fans equally as frustrated as they are now.
Well, when we talk to Snacks at 8:30, I want to hear what he has to say about that. But going back to the other top news outside of the NBA playoffs was, we talked about this yesterday with Giannis. how does this? I know Giannis is looking, or at least up to the
Mhm.
idea, and I heard other shows talk about, if the Bucks weren't willing to shop him, this would have been shut down
Mhm.
a month ago. But now with the Spurs being at number 2, that trade offer, maybe, if it's Dylan Harper or even Cooper Flag, if
Mhm.
somehow Nico screws that one up. But I mean, does that make San Antonio maybe the front runner now?
I would say San Antonio is definitely a contender for him, but let's not forget about number 3 in this draft pick as well, the
The
Philadelphia
Sixers?
76ers. I think the 76ers would love to make a splash and make that trade and move out of the number 3 spot, give it to Milwaukee and get Giannis in return. Because honestly, if you look at this draft class, although it's stacked with a lot of young talent, a lot of 19-year-old young talent, if you really look at the first mock drafts, but when you look at a generational talent like Giannis Antetokounmpo, it is really hard to justify that giving up a number 3 overall pick wouldn't be worth it.
And see, that's what I was looking at as a Bulls fan. I was hoping, okay, maybe Miami or Chicago lands in the top 5, and that just helps Chicago
Right.
get in that trade talking. So when they got to 12, I was like, well, damn.
Well, and then that's the argument for the Spurs, right? Like they don't really need anybody in this draft class, although they could really benefit from more pieces. But getting an Ace Bailey or a Harper out of Rutgers, or really anybody in the top 5 outside of Cooper Flag, doesn't really shake up your team as much as you would want it to. You made the trade for DeAndre Fox in the midseason, which bolstered the offense. Honestly, with Victor, you have the rookie of the year in Castle.
Back to back rookie of the years, right?
Right. And honestly, it would be cool to see them go back to back to back. Don't get me wrong. But who on this draft class is going to outplay Cooper? And honestly, with most of these guys, I shouldn't say everybody, but most of these young talented players being guards that you've already kind of filled the void of with Fox and Castle, you don't necessarily need anybody. So I say make a package, send it over to Milwaukee and say, hey, restart your franchise and let us continue Giannis's career and potentially get him back to at least sniffing the championship.
So I know you have like the early mock draft. The mock or the actual draft is not until the end of June,
Right.
but the first 10 picks will be Dallas, the Spurs, 3 is the Sixers, 4 is the Hornets, 5 is Utah, 6 is Washington, 7 is the Pelicans, 8 Brooklyn, 9 is Toronto, and then 10 is the Houston Rockets.
Via the Phoenix Suns, which honestly, the Rockets could potentially package that number 10 for send it to Milwaukee as well. I'm just thinking one of these top 3 picks is going to be most likely packaged first, or at least a better package for him, obviously.
Well, before you run into maybe the first 10 picks of the mock draft, this was Q Myers on who he thinks is now in the best fit for Giannis.
I go back to Houston and San Antonio. I think it makes sense for both. And I think that Giannis would do a great job in Houston. I think he'd be that guy that could be that go-to, that veteran that's been there, done that. He could be that force. They have a lot of young talent and have a hell of a coach there. We just saw what they did as the number 2 seed, and obviously they need a little bit more. Giannis could be a lot of bit more, right? He's not a little bit more. He's a lot of bit more. And then you put him in San Antonio. You put him in San Antonio next to Wemby. Come on now.
Again, it would be a dream, to be honest, especially for the San Antonio Spurs, because if you somehow pull off a trade for Giannis, and I shouldn't say somehow anymore, you have the number 2 overall pick in this year's draft. I think it's a pretty good possibility they get something going to make Giannis a Spur next year.
If it's not that, is it KD?
No. Well, actually, maybe I could definitely see that as well. Maybe with the Phoenix Suns looking to do kind of the same thing Milwaukee's doing right now. I just think the Giannis pick is a little bit better because Giannis will be happy still in that kind of a market. We've seen him play in Milwaukee for all of his career, really, and he has been okay with the small market situation. A lot of players can't do that. I don't know if Kevin could play in San Antonio for multiple years and be happy. Giannis can. So I think that it's a better idea for the Spurs, who really bank on building their teams and longevity and all of that kind of stuff, and just building a good camaraderie within the team and building that. So I think they're going to look for something more long term rather than Kevin Durant short term. So, but let's take a quick break real quick, and then I can get into the early mock drafts of the NBA, since we have our first couple picks already announced, or not already announced, I apologize, already pretty much predicted, because I can promise you right now, number one is going to be Cooper Flag, unless Nico does something to screw this up.
Nico wouldn't do that.
I mean, you never know. But 2 through 5 are going to be interesting to see as well. So we'll take a quick break and pay some bills. You're listening to the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. And don't forget, go check us out on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at the Early Bird Special. We'll be right back. Welcome back.
Serve tonight.
That's tonight. I think you're counting down
Tonight.
the days at this point.
Tonight at the Kia Forum.
Ooh.
What's weird is when I got the tickets, I was excited because I thought it was Megadeth with them.
Yeah.
And then I guess it was only the first part of the tour, and they subbed them out with Daughtry.
Oh, is that okay?
I was like, "What?"
That's a weird
That's a
transition.
swap, right?
Like we go from
Megadeth
okay.
to Daughtry. Like, what?
I guess that's cool for some.
No, it's not.
I said for some.
But no,
I don't
it should
hate
be.
Daughtry. I
No,
mean,
I
they got
just-
some songs. It's like Shine Down. It's like
Yeah,
I have
a
a
couple good
handful of
songs.
songs, but do they really warrant being number 2 on the list? Probably
Yeah,
not.
probably not.
Probably not anymore.
But going to back, I mean, it is the 25th anniversary of the first tour, or their first album, which was the best one, I think. I'm not going to be able to go because I get up too early and I just don't. I'm too old for that.
Come on.
As I'm talking trash about the other old guy, but it's just too much for me. And I know my wife and my mom are big Disturbed fans, so as long as someone that will enjoy it will go, I'm happy.
Wow, they better put up some Facebook Live for you or something so you
Right.
can actually enjoy it for a second before you go to bed.
But with the early mock draft, I mean, before you run down the top 5 or top 10, who do they have the Bulls at 12, or did they drop it?
Let's find out. Now, this mock draft is from The Athletic, who do a fantastic job at covering all things sports. So if you have not followed The Athletic, I highly recommend you do so. One of my favorite publications. So they got you guys taking, oh, that's right, Carter Bryant from Arizona, the 19-year-old wing. I like that pick for you guys, actually. You guys desperately need some sort of wing help. And with guys like Josh Giddey and White running the point for you, it would really benefit to have somebody that could shoot right next to him. Unless you can package this up to get a star somewhere down the line, maybe a Kevin Durant, if you can convince the Suns to maybe make a trade with him. But I like that pick. I think it's going to be a solid. Well, I don't know if he'd be a starter right away, but he would definitely contribute to the Bulls and at least get you guys back in the right direction in terms of offense. But going down at least the top 5 here from The Athletic, obviously number 1 overall from the Dallas Mavericks, it's going to be Cooper Flag. He's easily the best player in this draft. It's the only one that's a can't miss prospect, realistically, if you really want to boil it down. At 18 years old, and mind you, again, we say this a couple of times, but this kid was supposed to be a senior in high school this year. He wasn't even supposed to be in college yet. And he averaged 19, 7, and 4 with 1.4 assists and 1.4 blocks a game. And he's 6'9". This kid's going to grow at least to 7 feet tall.
You think so?
Well, I would assume he's at least going to grow 1 to 2 more inches. So he's going to be pretty dang close to 7 feet tall. Down the stretch, especially in the tournament, he was scoring over 20 points a game, about 20, 25. He shows flashes of leadership already. I think this is just it's a can't miss prospect.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player. You think he's the most NBA ready?
Yeah, 100%. I think the kids from Rutgers are about there too. Ace Bailey and Harper, who will most likely go 2 and 3, but I'll get to them in a second. But Cooper for sure is just the most physically talented. He's not necessarily Victor Wembanyama level talent. Let's not get that crazy. We're not talking about phenom, but his new teammate, Anthony Davis, I'd say they're coming in with pretty equal amount of hype. I think that there's a lot to love from Cooper Flag. And I think that there's a lot that's more to come as well down the line in his career, but it's going to take the right coaching and the right situation to get the most out of him. I think Anthony benefited from going to a place like New Orleans first because they were able to focus mostly on him and running the offense and everything through Anthony. So if Dallas can figure out a way to kind of imitate that with Cooper at the same time while still incorporating the offense of Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, I think they could be pretty formidable next year. Probably at least fight themselves back into the top 6 in the conference. Because I don't know, doesn't seem to me like there's a lot of teams that can compete with a high-powered offense like that, like Anthony Cooper and Kyrie, even though that Nico wants a defensive-minded team. That's why I keep it's something in the back of my head, man. Something is telling me he's going to do it. He's going to switch it up at the last second.
That would be
No,
hilarious.
we're taking Edgecombe from from home or Baylor.
Do you think if he does it at 1 or trades out?
Idea.
That would be. Now you're making me think.
But see, that's
I
what
was
I'm
like, are you
saying.
that stupid, Nico?
I don't trust Nico Harrison.
No.
I'm sorry. I still don't think half of Dallas trusts Nico Harrison. And again, for anybody who says that this lottery win is a win for Nico, that doesn't make any sense at all. I would agree with you if this draft pick was the Lakers draft pick and they had gotten it from him, but it wasn't. This is just the draft pick that they already had. So Nico had nothing to do with this. The only thing this does for Nico is this is God handing Nico a second chance saying, don't screw this up. So we will see what we will see. But if he didn't understand the depth of love that the city of Dallas had for Luka Doncic as their superstar, I don't know exactly what the heck he's going to know about Cooper Flagg and how much of a star he is. And that's what scares me. It's not necessarily that I'm sure he himself is an intelligent man, but you could be intelligent and still not know ball.
Yeah. We've seen that.
Yeah. And from everything that I've seen so far, you may not know ball, my friend. I'm sorry. But moving on to the number 2 pick for the San Antonio Spurs, they got Dylan Harper from Rutgers. I like this pick, although, like we've been saying, 2 and 3 are most likely going to be the Rutgers kids, which is Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, who are 2 of probably the most physically gifted and prototype style players in this draft class. Harper is a guard, Bailey is a wing. You can mold your teams around these 2 kids. One's 18, one's 19. You got just great potential coming out of both. I just don't know if either the Spurs or the 76ers want to pick at 2 or 3. Not that they don't want the talent, but more of, I think this is just too good of an opportunity for one of these 2 teams to package this pick and make a move for a guy like Giannis or Kevin Durant or something to revitalize your team, especially if you're looking at a team like the Philadelphia 76ers at number 3, who, I mean, your franchise is your fans are about as fed up with your franchise as Dallas is. This whole trust the process system has not worked. It hasn't proven to work at all. You've switched out so many stars on this team, your James Hardens, your Paul Georges, and it's just not working. So you've found something in Tyrese Maxey. Get the most you can out of Joel Embiid for the rest of his career, or however long you have him on the team, because it's not going to be very much longer, especially if he continues to have injury history, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I know there's been rumors of him not even being able to play. So
exactly. And
I mean, how many opportunities do you get to trade for a player like Giannis?
Right. Or Kevin. And at this point right now, just like I said with the Spurs, you're not going to get a player, at least right away, that's to the level of a Giannis or a Kevin. And if you want to win right now, make the pick or make the trade. Don't make the pick. Give it up. Give it to Milwaukee. Let Milwaukee pick whoever the heck they want out of the Harper or Bailey, and then move on with the entire thing. Because it's at this point, it's just, I don't know who's going to make the trade, but 2 and 3, I would expect one of those 2 not to be there.
So you think these trades happen before draft?
It could.
I mean, because that's a month away. So
NBA isn't really keen on trades during the draft. So I would say that if it doesn't happen right away, it happens the day after, and the draft pick is like whoever they drafted is part of said pick.
Yeah.
So if San Antonio decides to take Ace Bailey instead of Harper, I would think that Ace Bailey is going to be traded with the pick to Milwaukee, but it is what it is. And I would expect, or I would hope it would happen before the draft, but we will see. I just don't think it's happening during the draft. That's a far-fetched situation in my opinion. And then 4, 5, and 6, obviously the 3 teams that should have gotten the first overall pick. We'll start with the Charlotte Hornets. They have him taking VJ Edgecombe from Baylor, a guard that is defensive minded and honestly might fit really, really well here. The Charlotte Hornets already have their two main superstars they're building around, and LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. So they're really looking for complementary pieces. And VJ at this point would probably be the best on the board if the other three are taken already and is already defensive minded. And you need somebody to kind of fill that void because LaMelo does not play defense well. And Brandon Miller hasn't built the NBA body to be able to bang with a lot of these guys. And so you need somebody that's going to be able to step up early and be able to take on that number one defensive threat for your team. And I think Edgecombe is a good choice for that. He's just a really tough guy, and Baylor builds those kind of guards that love to just play defense. Utah they got them taking Trey Johnson, the wing out of Texas, 19 points a game. And honestly, I think it's a solid pickup only because Utah needs to build a backcourt of the future. They like Lauri Markkanen. I understand why you like Lauri Markkanen. He's played for the Cavaliers and he looked great for them too. He's played for Chicago. He was okay for Chicago. But he has really flourished with the Utah Jazz. And honestly, I think you can build something really cool and get yourself back into the playoff contention at least. They weren't that bad a couple years ago, and they really haven't lost a lot of those pieces. And then finally, the Washington Wizards, they have him taking the 20-year-old big Derek Queen from Maryland, which honestly would probably be a solid pickup for the Wizards, but they have so many holes on that team, and it's really going to be hard to fix everything in one draft class. So I say you may actually want to take note from a lot of these other teams, package that pick, and try to trade for something more, or maybe just more players, because I think that's the better option if you're the Wizards, but that's just me.
Well, keep it rolling because we're just going to skip this 7:30 break.
We are? Okay, cool. I mean, sounds good to me.
Well, because we still haven't got into the games last night, and
this is true.
I still want to see what this mock draft is for the top 10.
Honestly, the only other one that's really worth of noting here, I would say, would probably be the next pick, which is number 7. They have it being Cone Knuppel, who's the best shooter in the class, going to the Pelicans, which, I mean, for a team that needs some sort of offensive help and needs some building around, he could help a lot. And it could be something that moves your team forward after all of this Zion Williamson situation. I know they love Zion down there, and his health and his weight have always been a fluctuating issue. But if you put somebody in the area that's kind of at least formidable on the offensive side, I think you could really help Zion and get the ball out of his hands. As great as he looks with the ball in his hands, we've seen him drop 30 and triple doubles and all this different type of stuff. You need some sort of help with him. And Brandon Ingram was there for a while, and he looked like it was going to be at least that superstar that they needed to get them there. But for some reason, just this year, it didn't look right. They were off, and they need something more going forward. And I think Knuppel could actually fill that void pretty well. So I like the top 7, at least for the Athletic. The rest of them, I'm not 100% sure exactly how these are going to go. I mean, you got a big man going to the Raptors from Duke. I like that one. But outside of that, it's the NBA draft is so tricky because a lot of these teams, the needs fluctuate. And like we said, we don't know exactly what these teams are thinking outside of finding the best talent on the board. And that's really what you're looking for going forward. But let's get into some of these playoff games then. Woo. Since we're going to be skipping this break.
Well, that was the big game. I rushed home and got home right in around 5. So it was like the mid second quarter. And with the Knicks and Celtics, we talked about it yesterday. You know, this was a must win, I believe, for the Knicks, because if they let Boston tie it up and have to go back to Boston, I mean, it was just stirring like trouble. And somehow, some way, man, and I have to give, I mean, obviously Brunson is clutch, but not only him, but the rest of the team. I mean, there was not only Cat, but there was some other players that stepped in. And what is the guy's name? The man, I wrote it down yesterday too.
Which team are we talking about here?
For the Knicks, yeah, it was the
OG.
No, it's not the usual guy that we always talk about. So I was like, he was just clutch
Cameron
all game.
Payne, maybe.
What was it?
Cameron Payne, maybe?
No.
No.
I'll have to look it up while we're talking, but it was, I mean, he wasn't like the highest scoring player for the Knicks, but when it needed, when the time was starting to switch over and Boston was getting hot, he would just hit it clutch shots, and they were able to keep that momentum away from Boston. So I mean, before the Tatum injury, which was horrible, I mean, it was a no contact type injury where if you looked at the replay, which we posted on our Instagram last night, but he just went for a steal, and it just that pop. Oh, and if you've ever tore your ACL, which they haven't announced what it is, he'll have MRIs today. So we'll expect to hear the news today. Fingers crossed that he's all right. But it looked bad. He couldn't put weight on it. But the Knicks did pull out the win, 121-113. So they've got the 3-1 lead going back to Boston. And with or without Tatum, I mean, that's going to be a major hole to come out from.
Oh, absolutely. But I think we've seen it last year that when Tatum goes down, Jalen steps up. So I would not necessarily say that this is going to be an easy walkover in Game 5 for the Knicks. I think you were talking about McBride might be the one you're thinking.
Michael Bridges, yep.
Oh, it's Bridges. Oh,
Bridges.
Okay. But Bridges is a stud. He's been doing this for the Nets and for many
44 minutes last night, but
I mean, he played 50 in one of these games.
But he put up 23, and every time that they were getting cold, he would come in and it was bottom of the net every time. It was just pretty. And I'm like, where is this guy, man? It's just he was clutch last night.
He is, I think, one of those guys that they really lean on when they absolutely need somebody to score. Because Karl Anthony Towns, as offensively skilled as he can be, his game is so, I don't know how to exactly put it. It's not the traditional big man game. You can't necessarily ask him to post up 15 to 20 times a game and expect him to back a guy down. It's more tip-ins and shots and like very athletic play, which is good. Like, don't get me wrong.
He had a good game too, but he does a lot of stupid fouls and And it just seems like, okay, well, we're going to need somebody else to step up. And, I think Bridges, I think there was a lot of players that stepped in last night and helped. And this was the third time in a row that Boston had been up for double digits and let the game go.
Not 20 points this time.
No, it was 14 or 15. But, I mean, Tatum was on fire. That guy was 6 or 7 threes.
Right.
And some of them I was just questionable. I understand when you're a shooter and you can make those type of shots, but there was a few times where Boston was within reach and he was throwing up shots almost half court. And I'm like, what are you doing?
And again, they missed 33 pointers, 18 of 48. Like, I get it that your entire offensive scheme this year was based around the three, but when it's not working, you got to stop. I mean, you got to figure out a different way to make it work. Cause I mean, we've seen it a couple times now. I know Bolt Brady, our handicapper that comes on Friday, has said it last week, but the Celtics have a bad habit of getting out in front and then just kind of playing around with you. Like they're playing on just a park court and, at Jastro. It's not what you need in the playoffs. And when you're playing against a team like the Knicks, who literally never quit, you're going to lose these games 9 times out of 10. Without Tatum, it's going to be even harder to pull off a win. Because I'm going to tell you right now that injury, I don't think he comes back.
No.
Non-contact stuff like that, he's not coming back for the rest of the series, let alone the rest of the year. So that's, like you said, a huge loss. He'd had 42 in this game before he went down.
He was shooting 16 for 28, but now the Knicks lead 3-1, 1 win away from their first conference finals in 25 years. So, I mean, if it wasn't for Thibodeau, I wouldn't be watching the Knicks or rooting them on, but it was a hell of a game. And
it's wild to me that we are in a world right now where we might not see either Boston or Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals this year.
And Game 5 will be tomorrow right here on ESPN Bakersfield. And the Game 2, Timberwolves and Warriors, where, speaking of injury, the Warriors are playing without Steph. And they really needed this win last night to kind of keep it in in reach and hope that Curry is going to come back. But when I turned it off, it was a minute or two away from halftime and Golden State was up. I was like, okay, I knew that it was going to be a lot closer.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, when I got up this morning and I saw the highlights and I watched the second half of the game, I was like, looking at those stats in the third quarter, the Timberwolves just took over.
Mm-hmm. And again, it all falls on the shoulders of Anthony Edwards and now Julius Randle, because you've now gotten back-to-back mega games from Julius. He had 31 and not a triple-double this time, but when you have two stars like that go off for 30 in the same game, it's very hard to beat. I still say this entire series now is going to lean on Anthony. If Anthony Edwards can continue this style of play and keep this up, not only will they most likely win this series in 5, even if Steph comes back, but they have a very good chance at taking out what I think is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder coming out of this other series. Because if it's going to be, well, personally, I want to see the matchup of SGA against Anthony Edwards.
Well, that would be hell of a series.
I think that's going to be the best series you're going to get out of the West. And with the inconsistencies of Denver, their inabilities to figure out the coaching situation, who's the actual coach on the team, because I'm just going to say it, the guy who's the interim coach is just a seat filler. When your stars are sitting there running the huddles, you're not a coach, dude.
Yeah, you're not doing anything.
You're not doing anything. And don't give me the, oh, well, I just started shenanigans. You've been with the team. Don't act like this isn't something that you should have been ready for. So I'm still riding with the Thunder, even though they're the youngest team in the NBA. And it would be really, really interesting to see if Anthony Edwards can just dethrone Steph and move on from this. But real question here is, does Steph play? I know it's still questionable right now, but if you had to guess, do you think Steph plays in Game 5?
No, I don't think he plays in Game 5. I think if Golden State, they're going to need Game 5 and push. But what I read last night, Steph said he does not expect to return to the court Wednesday. And his actual quote says, even if I wanted to be Superman, I couldn't, referring to his hamstring injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think they're in trouble, definitely.
Well, yeah.
And I don't think they get out of Game 5.
And honestly, if I'm Steve Kerr, I'm looking at my starting 5 and I'm wondering, okay, where is the falter in production? Because if you look at the entire starting 5 for at least this last game, not a single one of them got over 14 points. Their top scorer, Jonathan Kuminga, came off the bench and led everybody with 23. And you're still missing key factors underneath on defense. I personally, I know Kuminga's been on the bench for the last couple weeks. I say you have to start him. I think you have to start him, and you need to get some sort of offense flowing between him, Butler, and Buddy. If you can lean on those three and have a good shooting night from Butler and Buddy, you have a chance to pull this off even without Steph. But I think really at this point, and I know he doesn't like to do this in most games, but you really need to pull a Thibodeau. Lean on your starting 5 and say, look, guys, you need to pull us out of this hole. I know it's going to be a tall order, but until Steph comes back, I need you guys to at least pull 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and pull off this game for us. Because that's really what it's going to come down to is the defense that they have built since acquiring Jimmy, the activeness in their hands and getting the balls and getting the steals and the hustle plays. You have to utilize that, and you really have to make them just regret not being able to beat you in transition, because that's how you're going to win. You essentially have to outrun them. I know it's a tall order, but that's where the long and short of it's going to be if you're the Golden State Warriors and you want to win this game.
Well, I think Ant, and after that halftime, I think they are back on track, and I think they probably smoke Golden State tomorrow. But we'll get into that especially when we talk to Snacks. But we also got 2 games later today. Plus, we're going to take this break. We're going to come back. If you'd like to win a family 4-pack of tickets to Bakersfield Kids Fest, which is taking place this Saturday at the Kern County Fairgrounds, water slides, all sorts of games, food, And I heard there was some shaved ice that's going to be out there. So just keep it tuned in because we're going to have our Trivia Tuesday. And if you get it right, you could win some Kids Fest tickets right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
don't think you're going to like how this ends, hotshot.
Say my name.
Your ass better call somebody!
I win! I win!
Time to play the game!
Welcome to the Early Bird Special. I'm Sparky, and that's Verdict. And if you'd like to win a family 4-pack of tickets to Bakersfield Kids Fest taking place this Saturday at the Kern County Fairgrounds, it also comes with 2 unlimited ride wristbands.
Get your kid on every single attraction as much as they want. That's
and
a good
it's
deal.
Kids of all ages.
It is.
So you'll see us down there.
It is. Well, you'll see me for like an hour, and then I'll be.
But the question is, and you can text in 661-842-2000. Duke has the most number 1 overall NBA draft picks. Name 2 of them. There is 5, not counting Cooper Flagg. So don't even text that one in. But just text in 2 of the 5 to 661-842-2000, and you might just get some Kids Fest tickets off of us.
And now, for those of you who don't understand the question, he's not saying Duke draft picks overall. We know Carlos Boozer was drafted. We know all of that. The number 1 overall pick from Duke. There's only been 5 of them. That's
going back to the 60s.
And I'll give you one even better. 4 of them have been in the modern era.
Yes.
So that should that should give you at least some sort of a hint on who you should talk about. We've talked about 2 of them already in this show. That's way too. That's saying too much already.
Answers. But I mean, we're trying to help you get your kids out of the house, off the computer, off their phones.
Yes, go enjoy a day out, man. It's going to be a bright, sunny day, hopefully, and and
it won't be triple digits. So enjoy it.
Water slides, bounce houses,
virtual games.
Yup, it's gonna.
It's food.
It is honestly a really cool spectacle that we put on for these things, and Kids Fest is one of the better ones. So I would very much suggest trying to get these tickets.
So baseball injuries.
Yeah, let's get into the baseball injuries a little bit here. I mean, did you see the video of the one we're about to talk about?
This one looked bad.
Yeah, the slide.
Yankees third baseman Cabrera was taken off the field in an ambulance after he injured his left ankle in the 9th inning.
Oof.
And it was a awkward slide.
Very awkward slide. And honestly, I don't know about you. I played baseball for a very brief point in my life. I quit at a very young age because I got very much tired of being beamed with the ball so much. Thanks, Fairfax.
I played baseball out at JBA for probably 12 years.
But sliding was always something that's a little tricky to get down, especially sliding with your feet first. Do you think baseball is going to have to do something to potentially fix that? I mean, I know they're very much trying to protect the health of their players. This is an isolated incident. I mind you, this does not happen that often.
I was going to say, if it happened a lot more, maybe.
There's a lot of bang plays that happen more often than this, but this was just, ooh.
Yeah, this one looked bad. And other positive news, veteran third baseman Evan Longoria announced his retirement yesterday.
Longo. I loved watching Evan play throughout my life. I mean, if you watched the runs with the Tampa Bay Rays and stuff like that, he was their star. It really does bug me a little bit that he didn't grow to be more than he was, because at one time you really did think he was going to be one of the better players in the league, top 5 at least, and it just kind of fizzled out for a while, especially after he left Tampa Bay. But a long and very successful career, I'd say, and a very well done, and claps all around, all that type of stuff.
Well, what's cool is that he's going to be able to sign that 1-day contract with Tampa and retire, which will be June 7th.
Speaking of retirements and stuff like that, I know we brought up Derek's yesterday, but did we ever figure out if he's going to retire a Raider? Should he retire? I mean, obviously he should retire a Raider, right?
Yeah, and that's just going to hit a nerve, because the old man was talking yesterday saying that, some people, and I caught the hint, that doesn't give Carr enough props.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm like, dude, he did. We'll give love to where love has been. Carr was a hell of a quarterback for 11 years, but he never won a playoff game. And you can do all the what ifs you want.
He had a terrible record overall, 77 and 92.
He had 1 year that he was in the MVP talk, which happens a lot to a lot of quarterbacks since it's a quarterback-driven award. But, the 1 year that he was on track to be the MVP, he broke his leg, which was a jacked up situation, and they lost to Houston.
Mhm.
So you can't play the what if he would have been there and if he was there, they would have won. That's not how NFL. I mean, as a sports guy, you should know that.
All I gotta say,
even Tua has been in MVP talk, and all the bash he takes.
I know. And again, all I gotta say is we're happy you're listening, and we already knew you were listening.
Yes, and I love
For other
having
reasons.
comedies. We'll have Nathaniel Webb, which is one of our favorite local comedians, in tomorrow morning at 7:30. He's got a weekly show out at Ava's. He's the door guy at the well. And going back to a lot of comedians, they actually start, a lot of successful comedians start at being the door guy at comedy shows, which I never knew that.
It's really how a lot of things work. I mean, at this point in life, really, you should take that as a lesson that internships and stuff like that really get you better jobs than a lot of other places do.
Getting your foot in the door,
Absolutely.
whether it's opening it for other people or not.
They would rather hire someone they know has a solid work ethic. So why not go and just work for them at a smaller or a lesser position for a couple months and show them that you can do a bigger position later? It's just the easy way to go about life.
But it is that time. I see KG. We're going to be talking the Raw recap, which was a entertaining Raw last night.
It was.
Didn't catch it.
It was a very entertaining Raw from Kentucky, but there's plenty to talk about, especially since Saturday night's main event is right around the corner. I believe this one's from Tampa.
Yeah, I believe it. And they're already booking shows on it. Plus, they announced last night that next week is when they'll start doing qualifying matches for the Money in the Bank. So there's a lot going on in WWE and other things. So we'll recap Raw with our boy KG right after this break. The early bird special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. Early Bird Special, Hour 2. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. And as always on Tuesdays, we got our wrestling analyst in the house, Mr. 24KG.
Yeet.
What's going on, sir?
Doing good, sir.
Doing well.
Oh,
Ooh,
you
got
got my
EO music today.
EO Sky music right there. If you guys don't know, EO Sky is one of the fastest up and coming superstars on the women's Raw roster. Look for her everywhere. She reminds me of the leader of the Crazy 88.
Well, and this isn't the first time that people might have seen her too. 'Cause, I mean, if you're a longtime wrestling fan, especially underground wrestling stuff,
Oh yeah,
She's
she
been around
was
for a while.
part of the Lucha Underground stuff for a while there. I mean, she's
she's even fought men.
She's one of my
Oh, yeah.
favorites, man.
she fought Penta, much like some others that are on the roster at the moment.
Penta does not care.
No.
Equal opportunity, but
Yeah, I think we need to get a Penta and Randy tag team as they take on the entire women's roster.
which you talking about like 2009 Randy Orton, where any and
Randy will
everybody
do it
could get
now.
it.
Are you kidding? Randy will do that now. He's
Like-
still RKO anybody.
I'll see you in the grocery store and give you a RKO out of nowhere.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of Randy Orton, let's start with Backlash on Saturday. What were your thoughts?
Okay, Sparky, I owe you an apology.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
Yep, I owe
Orton's
you
trash.
an apology, man. You know, the pay-per-view overall, it was good. But once we got to John Cena surviving 14 RKOs, 3 AAs,
Going
And-
through the table multiple times.
and everything else, I'm sorry, Sparky, I owe you an apology. That was wet dog crap. that match, I'm sorry. It took me back to my childhood. Yeah, it was nostalgic, but it was still reminiscent of your drunk uncles getting into it at a family barbecue. Can somebody please break this up? That's all I had to say about it, because I've seen it 20, 30, 40, 50 times over the last 20 years. So with almost a time capsule as kind of feeling of watching this match, I seen every spot that they pulled in every previous version of their matches and encounters, just reversed. John doing what Randy did. Randy used to do what John used to do. Little nuances here and new things there. The Logan Paul Prime energy drink spot where he drank it and it was disgusting.
He's like, "Ugh."
Hilarious.
They went to break at the perfect time.
Yeah,
too.
it was great. But nonetheless, R-Truth running in. I don't even want to know what's going on with R-Truth's dreads. Hey, R-Truth, holla at me. I got somebody for you, bro. What
And
was
is
that?
is it true that they're fighting at Saturday Night's main
That's
event?
the rumor.
I
I'm
would
reading.
my
hope.
God.
I would hope, because R-Truth, God bless his heart, 50-something years old, still moves a little bit smoother than
Yes.
John Cena
Yes.
in the ring. And I was I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was.
That was the surprise for me.
But overall, I would rate that match a D+, bro.
The match?
Yeah, the match was just
And surprising,
It was terrible for
the
me.
women's match was actually a lot better than what I
banger.
was expecting.
That was a banger. There were plenty of banger matches on Backlash.
Yes.
But maybe I just had my expectations too high set for John and Randy. I got to remember, they're vets. They're in their twilight. Randy is a foot taller and 40 pounds heavier.
Nostalgia is a hell of a drug, my
Oh,
friend.
man,
It
it'll
makes you
get you
forget
high to the
exactly where
sky.
you are for a
Yes,
while.
indeed. You'll be walking around and end up somewhere that you don't plan to be.
And we're not even halfway through the year of this farewell tour. So
No.
hopefully
No.
these
No.
matches are a lot better with Cena, or we're
Yeah.
going to have a long year.
Which we're supposed to get Cena here in Bakersfield on
Yes.
the 6th.
Yes.
I was going to
supposed
say
to be.
that's the SmackDown going into Money in the Bank. So that's going to be cool to at least see if you can't afford the tickets to Money in the Bank.
I don't think anybody's prepared to be financially ruined.
No.
No,
No,
not like that. But going back to this R-Truth thing real quick, because post-show, for those of you guys who don't know, they do post PLE press conferences and a post-show and all this other stuff. And that is where John Cena went about putting R-Truth through a table and starting this entire rumor that we're going to get Truth versus Cena here at Saturday night's main event. Personally, I think it's a good match.
We're taking it back to capital punishment
We are.
about 12 years ago, right?
But see, here's the thing. It's more of a symbolic thing, isn't it? Because remember what John said when he first turned heel. Everybody, including that kid right there, is a toxic relationship. If
Little
you were
Jimmy.
a fan of Cena, you're a toxic relationship, which he himself is trying to go and rid himself of, right? So it only makes sense that he rids the number one most toxic fan he has, which is R-Truth.
This is going to be so sad. This is going to be sad.
Yeah. Post this match, because I don't think people are ready to see depressed R-Truth.
Okay, guys, look, if you're not familiar with R-Truth, he is one of the most charismatic, comedically just gifted wrestlers of a generation.
What is it, like 42-time 24/7 champion or something like that?
Crazy
Stupid
like
number.
that. And survived many of eras where athletes or wrestlers like him much so didn't make it through the cuts, and he's continued to put on a great performance in the ring and out of the ring. So your point being made right there, Chris, is excellent, because I don't think people have put that together with R-Truth literally over the years professing to be the biggest John Cena fan.
Right.
He's older than John Cena and says, when I grow up, I want to
will
be
be
just
okay.
like you, man. You know what I'm saying? It's hilarious, but in the sense of how they're really going to play this out, it's well-deserved. Now, to suspend kayfabe right here just for a second, John Cena's run right now is going to be a great one, because he's working with everybody he wants to work with.
Right.
He's handpicking these people who might have been overlooked, or just, you know, a nostalgia wave.
Give
of
me
hey,
a Rusev fight, please.
yes,
Oh, that'd be awesome.
on the run Rusev is on right now, with he's still doing the Redeemer act, but not so much like how it was in AEW. He's here to rescue men from themselves, of mediocrity, complacency, comfortability, and push them into a whole era of brutality, which I'm really looking forward to.
Have they
because
ever
he's the
done
right person
that?
to do
Because
that.
that's kind of an interesting storyline.
I
I
don't
don't
think
remember
so.
if that's ever been done in wrestling.
I'm gonna beat you into not submission, but success.
It seems like that'd be something like a Mr. Perfect would kind of want to do at some point in his career, obviously. But
Kurt Hennig was more like, I just want to embarrass you to show you how
Right.
good I am, which I think is a good ploy right now for Rusev, especially with the slow build that they're cooking him on until he gets a worthy adversary, because they've got him. They're going to have him like eat the whole mid card up right now until it becomes the upper mid card, where you got your US or IC title contenders.
Right.
And once we get there, can you imagine Rusev, a Jacob Fatu, or a Rusev and Jeff Cobb? Like, that's going to be crazy.
You know, and we could talk about that with the Jeff Cobb thing, because I need you to explain more who Jeff is, because I have not followed his career as thoroughly as some, but
He is an amazing beast, and I can give you a quick rundown when we get to it. But just note, just because he is with the Samoans,
yeah, he
does not mean he is Samoan.
No, I made that point yesterday. He's not part of the family. He's actually Filipino.
Yes, Filipino and Polynesian.
Yeah.
And he's had a lengthy career in some other organizations where he's held gold in every single one of them.
Yeah. And honestly, could you imagine a match though of Jeff Cobb, Otis, Bronson Reed, and Jacob Fatu?
Might as well just throw Rhino in there for
yeah.
saying. Because
you want to talk about the biggest dudes in the entire locker room.
You know what, I don't have the dexterity to do it, but I do have the energy to imitate it. And I believe Big E said it best with, we got big sweaty men in here busting meat, and I don't want no technical classic, no 5-star general match. No, we need just 300-pound people running into each other and smacking flesh and sweat into the front row. Now, as disgusting as that sounds, people, on television, it makes great ratings. These are some very big athletic boys. Imagine what was the year the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl?
Was that 85?
Imagine that whole offensive and defensive line running into each other at one time
and doing flips in the air while they land.
That's
I don't think people really take that into account, that these guys really are the size of NFL linemen.
Refrigerators
doing
legs.
flips for fun.
Oh, yeah. When it was like last night's match with the Creed brothers and War Raiders.
We need to get into that because that right there was a sleeper.
Yes.
And I think nobody expected it to be as good as it was. And we should have, honestly. We should have. I'm disappointed in myself for that one, fellas.
I want a triple threat between the Raiders, the Creed brothers, and the New Day.
New Day?
Hey, the new Day is cooking. This whole
I'm loving it, dude.
Jerry curl. boys in the hood braids that
Yo.
Xavier Woods got going on with the
Xavier
with the
Woods,
Razor
though,
Ramon
looking at the
toothpick.
Creed brothers and saying, "Those are my kids. Those are my sons."
Yeah,
Yes.
I,
For those
I
of-
love it. I love it.
For
I
those
love
who
it.
don't understand, Xavier Woods' real name is Alexander Creed, right? Isn't that what it is? Or it's
yeah.
something of that
Austin
name.
Creed.
Austin Creed.
Austin Creed.
Austin Creed. So obviously with the Creed brothers, who are both two massive
Oh,
white
that's
men.
what he was
Yeah.
meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, those are my sons. That
Yeah.
was
Do you want to
Man,
get into
we
Raw?
want to give those boys an opportunity. Look how well. Look at
KG,
Brutus. He's a
so
big boy.
You want to get into Raw first?
Let's get into Raw.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay,
get
because
into
we
Raw.
kind of went over Backlash in our texts, and
We've got CM Punk walking to the ring after we've had a brief, I'd say, spell from what's the guy? CM Punk and Seth Rollins, their feud going on right now.
Yeah.
It
And
was
when I heard Heyman, I was like, okay, cool.
he called him the Penguin. That was cool.
good.
That was very
that was
funny.
pretty funny.
I'm gonna put my hands around your fat neck, your fat eyeball, squeeze out like Total Recall. All that. That was
blah,
great.
blah, blah,
That was
blah.
great. You know, it led to an interaction where we had a brief brawl with Sami Zayn to the rescue, Braun Breaker coming in there, and then of course the world champion Jey Uso coming to kind of fend everybody off. But I honestly think that this is going to lead to Sami Zayn possibly being the third man in Seth Rollins' faction, which
What?
I didn't think about it until I seen it, and I was like, it's a possibility. It's a possibility, but I wouldn't want to see Sami Zayn on a heel run right now.
I don't see
Again,
him
right
pulling-
after the bloodline.
Yeah,
break.
I'm tired of him being involved with organizations. Let him air out by himself, have a couple of feuds, and we'll see how that goes.
Well, I was going to
along.
say it's how post Raw. I mean, Triple H is doing a hell of a job as tinkering with. It could be Logan. It could be, which I hope is Gunther,
Mm.
and Sammy.
I'm still leaning on Austin Creed.
You
Or,
know
I'm sorry,
what?
Austin
Austin
Theory.
I'd even go out as far because I think we've kind of forgotten about this guy. I hope he's ready to come back from injury.
Bronson Reed.
Yes,
That would be
sir.
awesome. That would be
My
awesome.
big boy.
I think he comes back and helps out
Or Jacob or Solo.
Jacob.
I think that fits more since the
More
last time
so,
we
yes.
saw
I
him,
think him and
was
Jacob-
with the bloodline. I think it makes more sense that he comes back to help the bloodline again. I'm still leaning on Austin Theory to be the third member of this faction because if you saw the promo yesterday between A-Town Down Under, there is very visible frustrations between the two of them.
Oh, how he got set up last week and had
Yeah.
to fill in the match for him.
And I genuinely believe next week on Monday when Sheamus and Grayson go at it, that's going to be the moment they finally do it. They finally rip the two of them.
I would have
apart.
to agree. Most people would say Logan Paul fits great in there, but I don't think he's on television enough or there.
Available enough.
Even though he's a full timer,
Yeah.
technically he's not used enough for him to fit into that faction.
I wouldn't even say he's not used enough. It's more of who would benefit from this move more.
Exactly.
And in my personal opinion, Logan doesn't need anybody to be a better Logan. Logan is a hated person not by himself. Just living, this guy gets heat. So I don't think they really need to throw him into a faction, although he will have his own eventually. But I genuinely believe someone like Austin Theory would benefit a lot from joining a team like this, especially since the last 2-3 years, all we've seen Austin do is kind of fizzle out after his U.S. title run.
Oh yeah.
And then go into the tag team division, which, I mean, as fun as it's been to see him and Grayson Waller team together for a while, it's starting to get stale.
And it wasn't a natural fit.
No,
It did work, but it didn't seem believable.
no, they just seem like two pretentious white guys that just were full of themselves. And that, like you said, it fits for now, but eventually the fans are going to get tired of that.
Yeah. And speaking of fans getting tired of, let's talk about this yeet that took 10 minutes of the show and
God.
gassed and blew up Jey Uso before he even started his promo. Now, I know we're skipping ahead, but the yeet fatigue is starting to set in. Now, some audiences are with it, some people aren't, but I've got to put my hat in the ring here and say, all right, can we shorten these yeet entrances?
Yes, please.
I'm just saying, people, I get a good entrance is a good entrance, but CM Punk even said it last night. If you're just a song kid, I feel bad for you.
Right. And it's really starting to grow that way.
Yeah.
I will say
But-
he was better
wait.
on the mic.
But I will say this, that match he had with Seth Rollins did shut a lot of people up
Yep.
about
Yep.
Jey Uso's moveset and his ability of wrestling moves and knowledge. He went move for move, match for match, innovated a lot of spots along with CM Punk. With Seth Rollins, that surprised a lot of fans. So now that we know Jey Uso can wrestle, we don't have the John Cena phobia about his.
He was much better
run.
on the mic last night. I will
Very
say.
much so. He didn't seem rattled, so to speak, because hey,
Fatigued.
running down from those stands, yeeting with the audience, taking up 10 minutes of airtime, and then having to cut a very intense promo will gas anyone.
Yes.
So I'm glad they got to that. Now, picking right back up off of that, we've got Penta versus Chad Gable. But one thing that really made me laugh is they had my boy Pat McAfee make his entrance
during this match.
The match. The announcer got an entrance, and we didn't even get to see Chad Gable walk down on television. No, not at all. But we gave Pat McAfee from ESPN, our fellow ESPN brother, a nice little, welcome back.
Well-deserved welcome back, too, after getting absolutely cut in half by Gunther on Saturday.
He got chopped up. I will definitely say he got chopped up.
You wonder when the eye pot or the blood vessel happened, though.
You know what? With so many, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that because with the slaps, I think Gunther gave him a receipt on one of those slaps.
You think so?
Yeah, because he was slapping the crap out of Gunther. He was like, hey, you know what? This, that, and the other. And during the match, prior to the buildup, Pat really is an athlete, though. I will give him that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He went in there. He had a little botch jumping over the rope, hopped right back up, got smooth into the whole motion of things. But once he started really committing to these moves, Gunther let him know. Cute, but not
today.
Yeah, not today, Sonny. So shout out to Pat McAfee for getting in there and really enjoying the sport, becoming a part of the show. And it was a good look overall. It made no sense storyline wise whatsoever, but that could have been a spot for somebody else's match. But
again, this is, I think, because let's not forget last year's Backlash as well, where we got the Bad Bunny and Damian Priest match.
This is starting to become a celebrity spot now.
Right, exactly. And I think that that's kind of what this was, is that the WWE knows, or at least knew going in, Pat has always wanted to be part of the family in terms of being an actual wrestler. The only time we've ever seen him actually wrestle was at a WrestleMania in LA, where it was barely even a wrestling match. It was more of a setup promo with The Miz. And this was his first chance to actually show the locker room that he could hang and actually be a part of the family.
With a top dog.
Right. Then I think that was the point. I think that's why you got, although I didn't like it, that's why you got the Gunther handshake at the end of the respect, because that was them removing the curtain and saying, okay, hold on. Me as a wrestler, not as Gunther, but as a wrestler, I respect the hell out of you because you let me beat the crap out of you for 10 minutes.
Tried. You definitely tried, and you hung in there and you didn't piss yourself, bro.
Exactly.
Most people got pissed running down their back, up their leg, whatever.
Once they take that first chop, the entire thing changed.
I was more happy that we didn't see Goldberg, because that's what the rumor was.
I really was expecting
I was super happy that we didn't.
The more we talked about that, the more I kept thinking to myself, that really doesn't make sense that this would be a setup for Goldberg.
Well, Goldberg tends to throw a fit when he doesn't get his way. So I'm pretty sure they paid him a nice amount of money to have a proper retirement match, because we don't know where Gunther's moving forward in this series. And we do
now we do.
We do have some pay-per-views, PLEs coming up that are 2 nights in a row, such as SummerSlam. Also, the way they're booking this Saturday night main event, we don't know if that might lead to something further down the line in between that, maybe more so towards Money in the Bank. So keep your eyes peeled, people. So back to Penta and Chad Gable. Let's just get to it. Penta knocks off Chad Gable with a Mexican destroyer from the top rope.
That one was impressive.
And it was superb.
The flip from Chad Gable to set it up, and then Penta's timing with the Mexican destroyer was a beautiful move.
Now, what I'm starting to notice here with the blending of El Grande Americano and Chad Gable's persona, about a week and a half ago, you had Adam Pearce kind of catch him slipping with the Hey Grande, and he looked, and this was for Cinco de Mayo, and he just, gave him a nod back, but in Spanish with the reply, which was kind of the indication like, okay, folks, we know it's really him under the mask, but Chad Gable can't beat luchadors. El Grande Americano can. So there's going to come a certain point where these two storylines converge, and it's either gonna blow up or they're just gonna drop it.
Well,
So I can't wait to see that happen.
now I know we say El Grande can beat other luchadors, fellow luchadors, I should say.
Not fairly.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I was just about to bring up here is obviously the steel plate has come into effect, much like with Logan Paul with the brass knuckles for a long time.
Yes.
Will that get stale?
Well, if you see, he kind of threw the flying headbutt into a move set with Penta and reached for as if he had the mask and looked at the camera, which I think was a great play on Chad Gable doing, I mean, absolute top tier villainy, top tier work. This man, Chad Gable, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the shape he's gotten into to do both of these roles is insane.
Right.
Insane, bro, for you to have to learn this style and still blend it with that style and go out there and pretend to be two different people when we know it's you. You know it's you. It's the whole work. It's the gimmick. It's the point of the kayfabe you're introducing to the audience. Hats off to that man. I hope he's getting paid extra.
He is such a great wrestler, man.
Oh,
just watching that match last night just reminded me, because there was a few times that I'm seeing a lot with Penta matches where he fumbles along with a couple moves.
Oh, yeah.
It happens a lot. But I mean, Gable was all over it and helping him throughout the match. I just give him props.
I still say Chad has to be the most underrated wrestler the WWE has, because to be able to mix old Olympic wrestling, Greco style wrestling with luchador wrestling,
and then the WWE formula style of wrestling is insane. You have to have a high IQ to do that.
Not to mention he helps train a lot of these guys like Ivar does and many others that are still wrestlers as well. But this dude is just otherworldly, and the fact that he hasn't had a legitimate singles championship, I say legitimate because he's currently the speed champion.
Yeah, we don't count that.
El Grande Americano. But I just it's almost a disservice at this point that this guy hasn't won at least the IC title or the US championship.
I'll tell you like this. Chad Gable is so great. How great is he? He's so great. He could literally kick the crap out of everybody on the AEW roster and out wrestle them hands down.
Easily.
I would definitely put my money on Chad Gable. Let's go ahead and get to American Made versus the War Raiders. They win over the War Raiders with a Brutus ball from the top rope that looked immaculate. It was like, when you drop the shrimp in the Alfredo and the noodles, and it was just a perfect dish right there. That match went for about 7 to 8 minutes with one commercial break, and I think the New Day on commentary was hilarious.
Yes.
The fat
That's what
jokes
kept me watching it.
It was unnecessary, the vulgarity that the New Day was attacking the War Raiders with, but it was a great watch, you guys. Now, we talked about Jey Uso earlier with that 10-minute intro and whatnot, but let's talk about what happened afterwards. Before Seth Rollins left the venue, he gave Braun Breaker an assignment, and later on that assignment we seen was to take out Jey Uso, and this was right before we had a segment where Ludwig Kaiser, who we haven't seen in a while, was getting ready to speak. Then we cut to the noise and the interruption, and Braun Breaker leaves Jey on the ground with a woof. Not a yeet, a woof.
Did you see the cross in the background?
Oh yeah,
New Day.
Oh yeah, come on, man. Karrion Kross is the #1 selling shirt right
showing
now.
His shirt.
Brought that
Yes,
up
the puppeteer fingers on the strings that says "string them
so
up,"
great.
and
I have
that's
that shirt too. I
crazy
love it.
out of nowhere. You can't really say we didn't see this coming. I'm just glad that it's happening for him. There's nobody more deserving on the roster right now to get a spot, a look, a shine, an opportunity than I feel Karrion Kross. And you fans, trust me, when you see what this man can do, how he works, and the storylines that are applied, you will be thanking me for giving you this information on checking this guy out. Now let's move along with AJ Styles. And we got Finn Balor, the Judgment Day. Definitely. I would have to say the Bullet Club OGs put it on.
Yeah.
They gave you a wrestling clinic. They showed you that this is far from over, and we are still at new beginnings and a possibility of these guys having some type of future interactions, because Finn is done with Judgment Day after this.
I don't know about the Judgment Day, but at least Dom.
I mean, because
his boys were there for him, but Dom wasn't. So I think it's just a perfect setup, and I could see Dom going with Chad, or going that direction.
I think Dom goes by himself. I think it's time
I thought
for
that
Dom
for
to
sure,
lean on
but
his
then
own.
I saw the relationship with JD.
Yeah.
So I just it would be hard for him to just walk away from JD because that's his boy. So
Well, he's been wanting to bring in new people to the Judgment Day, and I don't think any iteration of the Judgment Day is gonna smack or be effective like previous ones. So we could just drop that and call it something else.
yeah, or even when Dom or JD, and then when they did the interview, the promo,
Yeah.
when he was saying, you're acting like they
Rhea,
were
Rhea and
Damian.
Damian,
when they got titles. So
is it just title envy?
It's
Yes.
title
Is
envy.
it title envy
Yes.
that he has? He doesn't have a
Although that was probably the funniest bit they put in the entire show last night was Dominic Mysterio learning about time zones.
that was hilarious.
That was really
hilarious.
funny.
Now, before we get out of here, we've got Becky Lynch ranting and raving in a promo that honestly, to me, it made sense, but it made no sense, folks. She's basically embracing all the characteristics that they say about her online, from her holding people backstage
Right.
to how she snuck the event from Bailey to being greedy to being selfish. All the internet rumors and backstage stories personified in this promo that she dropped, which almost made me
I get that, but
fall asleep.
is it not a smart idea though? Kind of like Kevin Owens was doing, that you lean into what the internet says to make you even more of a heel.
Yeah, you got to jump in front of that. You've got to have some type of narrative control and steer the wheel as much as you can from fans and analysts like myself who are going to speculate on what's going to happen next. So she just put everybody on notice. I am coming for you no matter what you have. Women's title on SmackDown, on Raw, whether it's mid-card,
and
high card, whatever, we're going to take it.
Can I highlight one thing as well, since I brought this up yesterday? For as good as everybody says that match was, the champion still not to be seen.
Yeah.
So what is the point of keeping the belt on Lyra when we know she isn't the face of the belt?
My thing is, if they were going to put her in a dark match with the IC title, which is sometimes what they do with whomever to keep them fresh and on TV or whatnot, why not have her interrupt Becky's promo?
Right.
That would have been great for them to actually have a blow off to their feud at the next PLE or Saturday night's main event. Just get it over with, because we know this is far from done and they're already 2 in. So that third one would be perfect. But is anybody else feeling Becky fatigue?
No, I think I'm feeling
love
Lyra
Becky.
fatigue.
I'm exactly. I'm the same way.
I'm just over
I'm
the
just
whole
getting used to Becky.
the bird gimmick. And
Yeah. No, I'm so over Lyra.
So
who's going to take the title from
that was going to be my next question. Who do you see taking this title off her?
It should have been Becky,
because we need
100%.
we need an established name.
Yes.
I repeat, we need an established name, or this women's IC title goes the way of the women's world championship tag titles, which sucked.
It should have either been Becky or Bailey. It should be one of those two. Somebody who's a horseman that can make the actual title look the way it's supposed to look. I have the same issues with the U.S. title right now being on Zelina Vega. I love Zelina off or outside of the ring. In the ring, she leaves a lot to be desired.
Yes.
And it really just, you need somebody that's going to make these belts actually worth a damn, is the best way to put it.
Just throw Rhea Ripley to the IC title picture and,
See,
and
but
elevate
she's
that.
so big. It's like Io. She's so
hard.
big that you can't put her
Yeah,
there.
it's the name's
But
too
these
big.
aging out, I shouldn't say aging out, that's a bad way to put it, but these
Super disrespectful.
these veteran women like Becky and Bailey and all of these horsewomen who set the stage for them that are looking to become Grand Slam champions, let them become the Grand Slam champion and build up those titles so the young cats coming in have something to strive for.
Indeed. Now, speaking of championships, we had the women's world champion Io Sky teaming with Rhea Bloody Ripley versus Roxanne Perez and Julia.
They're a great team together.
Roxy and Julia are interesting though, because they are not a team, as Julia put out at the end.
Very much so.
But did you guys kind of notice, as I did, that they are mirroring Io and Rhea in this?
Yeah.
They're showing us, hey, these are the stars right now. But Julia is the next Io and Roxy is the next Rhea.
Basically.
Well, that's how I liked it when they pinned them both at the same time. Even Rhea doing her Io's dance. I mean, I thought it was a great match. I thought it could have been flip-flopped and had the Finn and the
AJ
Finn match
at the
as the main
finale.
event.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, I thought it was a great match. But I was, scratching my head too. I was like, who's going to take these titles from both of those that you both said. And, I've seen a lot of Bailey talk. I know Bailey posted that she had taken out all the people that got canned last week out to dinner. And so
Good on her too.
Yeah. I mean, doing a vet move.
Yeah, that's a real vet move right there.
But
man.
what's up with Becky? What are they going to do with Lyra, and who's next? I mean, even with that discussion, who else can get in the middle of that?
Well, that's a good question, Sparky, and maybe we'll find out at our next PLE, which will be Night of Champions, proceeding live after SmackDown from Saudi Arabia, June 27th and 28th. Now, how do you feel about that?
Is Night of Champions before Saturday night's main event? Isn't that coming up in like a week or two?
I believe
2 weeks. Yep.
Yes, I believe
A week from Saturday.
Well, I guess Saturday night's main events don't really count as PLEs. They're more of just an extra Saturday show.
That's the here, Peacock. We owe you.
Yeah, we owe you a little bit of time on your thing.
So before we completely skeet out of here and put everything on Netflix, we're still contractually obligated to give you about 4 or 5 of these a year.
Night of Champions is going to be interesting, though. I'm more excited that Crown Jewel's going to Perth, Australia, though. We're getting it outside of Saudi Arabia for the first time.
I'm excited about that, which goes to show WWE is not just keeping it brand specific. They are moving
on.
Yeah, moving on. So Crown Jewel can happen anywhere in the world now. We do not have to just place that in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia because a lot of people had a problem with that. And I'm glad they were able to negotiate something,
including CM
yes, appeasing to everybody that doesn't feel safe going over there or want to work in those conditions.
Absolutely.
Just because of their political beliefs and personal beliefs, which I totally support and whatnot. Everybody has the right to their opinion. But nonetheless, this also means that now you can see different pay-per-views in Saudi Arabia, not just Crown Jewel. Speaking of pay-per-views, one that we have coming to MetLife Stadium, hosted by Cardi B.
Well,
SummerSlam.
The first time it's ever been 2 nights in a row. Now, I'm just going to go out here and say this as an artist myself and as somebody who is deeply embedded in the culture. Can we stop having rappers? If we are going to have rappers host PLEs, can we at least have rappers who are real fans and know the product, much like Wale? Okay,
this is true.
Much like Wale. I'm just going to say that right now because the last thing I want to hear is ratchet to my ratchet with my ratchet and my friends on my wrestling.
This is true.
I'm just saying, I didn't like it when Sexy Red appeared in NXT. Hey, hate me all you want in the comments. I'm just keeping it real, folks. There are certain things in wrestling that should not be cross-promoted with hip-hop. And Cardi B and Sexy Red are one example.
I agree.
I'm just saying it. If you want your kids watching this product, cool. Explain to them why she's throwing her stuff on the floor like a bag of ice. And it's not a wrestling move. Okay? That's all I'm saying. And you guys, I love you. I love you to death.
Love you too.
And we will see you guys in our next Raw review. We've got some PLE information that we'll be discussing later on this week.
Plus, Money in the Bank starts next week, so we'll have plenty to talk about.
I know we got the
qualifications.
qualifiers are coming up.
Maybe somebody could powerbomb Cardi B. I would honestly. Everything I just said, I would take back and eat with a slice of humble pie and a crap sandwich.
I would pay to see Nia Jax
Or
give the
Rhea,
Annihilator to Cardi B.
It's something.
I'd pay to see that. But
Something.
we got to take a break, though. Thank you, my friend, for your time as always.
No doubt. No doubt.
We got to take a break, pay some bills. And the other side, we'll be talking a little more NBA playoffs with our boy Snacks. You're listening to you're listening to the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. ESPN Bakersfield. And check us out on YouTube as well at the Early Bird Special. We'll be right back. Of course you're playing New York today.
Anybody but Boston, baby.
Well, yeah, welcome back to the early bird special. I'm Chris Burke. That's Sparky. We got plenty of basketball to talk about before we get out of here. And to help us do that is our buddy from Hit 93.1 and basketball referee at all the way to the collegiate level, right? Are you a collegiate basketball referee? That's the thing, right? I'm not lying.
Yeah.
There you go. Next from Hit 93.1 is with us, my friend. How are you?
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, my friend. Real quick, your first thoughts is what everybody's talking about in the world of basketball. Your thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks sneaking up to the number 1 pick in the draft lottery?
Total BS. Because
Yep.
how do the smaller markets win if the big markets continue to keep winning in the
It's true.
lottery? And what happened to the lottery balls? I don't even know what happened. When did they change?
Right?
That's
I don't know.
my friend. That is what everybody that I have talked to has been saying is what happened to. We get to see it happen in front of our face. That the lottery balls come down.
Not
like,
these sealed envelopes that you can tell. Obviously, they were worked out before. It is just BS.
But I mean, again, on the opposite side of this, I won't lie, I was cheering, hoping San Antonio was going to get the number 1 pick, because to see Cooper Flag and Victor Wembanyama together would have been absolutely incredible. But I guess that's the trade-off.
It would have been a good look, but also those 2 teams are still, I consider, big market teams.
Mhm.
Like, how can the smaller market teams compete if these teams keep getting? Because how many times have the Spurs had the number 1? And it seems like the Spurs always get the number 1 pick when it's time. When I hope not it takes this too far or too serious, but like when it's time for one of the foreign athletes to be the number 1 pick, because Pop was very good at bringing the foreign athletes over and really producing them into really good players. So that was always that's what I actually caught on to the lottery pick getting real fishy. Like, if the Spurs always get the number 1 pick when so this year, I think everybody's just now picking up on, like, hey, what's going on here? And like you said, they used to show us who got the lottery ball and the lottery picks, the number 1. And it used to be the worst team. I always thought the worst team was none of the Ghosts who got the first pick.
Yep.
That's why teams used to sink their seasons.
Honestly, it should be that way, in my opinion, or at least later down the line, you should have less balls. I guess it would be the best.
I mean,
I don't know how
I thought for sure it was going to be Utah or somebody like that, but I mean, does this give Nico a second chance to shoot himself in the foot? Or I mean, geez.
Yeah, he's basically found a new life, and he messes this up. He might as well just get his NBA general manager career.
Do you
I
think
already know who your number 1 pick is going into this? There should be no other conversation.
Right, but do you think there's any situation where he says maybe I want an Ace Bailey instead?
I hope not. I hope that's not even a thought. Like, don't even mess this up. You don't want any more threats in your life.
Right?
That's what I'm saying in my head, but I mean, it's Nico Harrison, so I'm expecting something to go wrong. You know what I mean? So
yeah, if that's the case, he might want to not just hire security, but national security.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
Well, after last night's games with New York and Minnesota taking the command lead 3-1, do you think these series are over, or you think there'll be a chance?
Well, the Celtics series is over.
Especially with Tatum.
Yeah, there's no coming back with Tatum with the whole Achilles thing. That's a wrap. And if they can't finish off the game, they just can't play defense or rebound the ball. That's been the Celtics' issue with that series, because what happens down the stretch in the fourth quarter, that Celtics just can't rebound or play guard anybody. And then they just all of a sudden just start missing shots. Start making shots. And then the Warriors, I always thought it was over once Steph went out anyways. And even if he comes back, you just have to regain the whole chemistry of having him back. He's going to try and force a lot, and I just don't think that's going to work with the momentum that Minnesota has.
Do you think a lot of these teams are living and dying by the 3-ball a little too much? I know we see the Celtics obviously missed 30 again last night and just can't seem to hit at the volume that they usually do. So, Are you in the same opinion as I am? We needed some adjustments coaching wise?
Chris, for the past 5 years, I'm praying that the big man come out of somewhere. Give me a new Shaq that dominates the league. Give us something.
A Dwight Howard,
Yeah, or something to get somebody to shoot the ball inside the 3-point line and give me a mid-range person. We only got like 3 to 4 mid-range players. So yes, I agree with you. It's way too many threes, especially later in the season as you go in the harder these games. You lose your legs. So you're not going to make those shots like that, like we have in the past. And teams are starting to play a little bit defense now. And that's why you're seeing a lot of these teams not going further behind the 3-point line because their legs are dead. And that's probably what's happened to the Celtics in the fourth quarter.
I mean, I just see so many times the Celtics will have the lead by 10 to 15 and they'll trot down for 4 seconds, chuck up a 3 and then miss it and say, oh, darn, and walk away. It's like,
well, we saw that last night in the game where Boston was still within reach. And even before Tatum went down, I mean, there was plenty of time, and it was, I believe they were down 4 or 5, and Tatum was shooting almost from half court.
Right.
And yes, he was on fire last night for a while, but I just didn't understand, like, even getting a closer 3 would have made more sense.
Idea.
And the main thing is the fundamentals that really bug me is when they shoot the 3s and they take off down the court, not following up their shots. Like, if it makes it, it makes it. If not, we're playing defense. I'm like, well, we were always taught to follow our shot and, contend, but I guess I'm just old.
Well, there's a lot of things that we were taught in Pee Wee basketball that don't pertain to the NBA.
Of course.
So including double dribble and travel.
Oh, yes,
and,
that they didn't
gather
call.
step and all that type of stuff.
Yep.
Real quick, though. I'm sorry. What are you going to say?
Oh, so that was the thing that pissed me off. It pissed me off to watch a 6'8", anybody over 6'8", playing outside the 3-point line.
Mm-hmm.
I used to say it all the time real quick that most of the championships that LeBron won was below the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
He played in the post. He played in the post. He wasn't bringing the ball off the floor. He played in the post, and he's making decisions out of the post. So, and that's what you see out of New York. As we get closer to the end of the game, they just start getting to the rim because Boston don't have any legs. Sorry.
No, I agree with you 100%. But let's jump into the games tonight. Do you think there's any chance that Cleveland avoids being sent home, or I guess staying home?
No, because the Spider is out too, isn't it?
That's what I keep hearing. There's no
they're saying it's game time, but it looks like it's doubtful.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to lean on.
With him and Garland beat up, I don't see them beating the Pacers. I don't see them beating the Pacers at all. So, well, I got the Pacers taking this serious.
With that being said, obviously that would mean that we would most likely get a Knicks and Pacers Eastern Conference Final. Do you have an early prediction for that one? Because me and Sparky can't choose. I have no idea.
The old '90s, baby. I'm saying the Knicks are just a gritty team. The only thing, again, I worry about the Knicks and what's the head coach name?
Tibbs. Thibodeau.
He plays them way too much, and so I'm just worried about them getting drained down the end. But if they can stay consistent, stay healthy, I got the Knicks coming out of the East, and I actually think one of the East teams will win the championship.
That'd be awesome.
I think they have a more likely chance to win out of the East than you do out of the West. I think the Thunder have the best chance, though, obviously. But moving on to that series, how do you like that Thunder and Denver series tonight?
Oh, is this a game 7?
No.
I can't remember.
It might as well be. Every damn game for them is a game 7.
It's the best out of 3 now.
Yeah, I feel I'm going OKC because I think OKC has picked up a momentum, a rhythm with each other. Like they're back to that team we've been seeing all year long. I still rolling with OKC with this series.
See, I keep saying that both of these teams' ceilings seem to be the same, but their floors are vastly different. And just the inconsistencies that I keep seeing from Denver just scare me. I don't know. Like I have to agree with you that I like more what I see out of a young Thunder team, which shouldn't be the case if you really think about it when we look at these two teams, because one has championship pedigree and the other one has never even been there. So you would assume it would be the other way around.
Yeah, and you hear me just keep talking about the conditioning of all. Down the stretch of basketball, there's nothing else that really matters. It's staying healthy and how conditioned is your team. down the stretch. Because you played each other 1,000 times now. There's no offensive play that you can trick each other, defensive play you can trick each other. Who has the more mojo? And I think the youth is just taking over the series. You can see it when Denver is playing down the stretch.
Now, we've pretty much already said that we're leaning on the Timberwolves to win their series. Who do you think is making it out of this one, though?
For whatever reason, I'm rooting for Ant, man, because I just love the way he played, man. I'm going Timberwolves, but I wouldn't be shocked if OKC pulled it away and end up in the finals.
I would like to see Ant in the finals as well. I think it just would be I think it'd be a better look for the NBA because honestly, when you really boil down who's going to be the next face of the league, it's got to be him, right? And it would only
as much as he doesn't want to, it's going to be him,
right? And it would only benefit the league to have him win a championship, especially I wouldn't say necessarily by himself, but as the lone superstar on his team, rather than like all the rest of these guys who have had super teams.
Yeah, and right now is the chance to do it with the teams that's left.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do we have any text message questions or anything for him, Spark?
No, it was just for our giveaway this morning.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, my friend. Appreciate your time as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Always love, fellas. Thank you, man.
Thanks, man. We'll take a break real quick, pay some bills, and come back to our final segment of the day before we hand it off to the great Rich Eisen. You're listening to the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. And again, don't forget, go check us out on all social medias and on YouTube at the Early Bird Special. We'll be right back.
A big congratulations to Corey, who got it right. The first text said Carlos Boozer and Zion. You were close. But the other one was Zion and Kyrie. So Corey won 4 tickets to Kids Fest.
Well done, Corey.
And you'll have another chance if you want to take the kids out to Bakersfield Kids Fest this Saturday at the Kern County Fairgrounds.
Absolutely. And
We'll
don't
have
forget,
tickets all week.
try to beat us tomorrow at Wild Thing Wednesday. We got a couple pretty good stories for you guys. But if you could potentially beat us with a wilder story than a story that we have shared, we'll hook you up with a 4-pack of tickets to Kids Fest and 2 unlimited ride wristbands. And honestly, you're not going to want to miss this, especially if you have kids. Your kids will love this event. It is 100% free. There's nothing you have to buy on the inside. If you have the unlimited ride wristbands, they get they get all of the rides. It's a lot of fun. Like Sparky said, we'll be there for a little bit. Don't know exactly how long, but we will be there. So come say hi. And it's just one of those events that we love to run here at American General Media just because we know how much fun you guys have with it. But before we get out of here, there's a couple stories in the world of football that we got to let you know about, including looks like the Bengals are serious about not re-signing Trey Hendrickson. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it, but I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, you're leaning solely on offense. You went and drafted a guy out of Texas A&M who's most likely going to fill that void, although the guy's only had 1.5 sacks at Texas A&M. Just throwing that out there.
When you have the sack leader.
Yeah, exactly. Like, are you
pay
really
the man?
I don't. That's the part I don't get. This guy is the sack king. Like, and for somebody in the organization, I won't say who she is, to go out and say that he should just be happy with the rates that they give him. Let's be honest here. Yeah, no, this was something that was said a long time ago. Again, I don't have enough time to get into it, but executive vice presidents of the Bengals, you should really rethink your words because that's really poor way to put that. However,
do you think they keep him?
They're going to try. He's got 1 year left on this contract, although he doesn't want to play on a 1 year. I get it, much like TJ Watt. But in the world we live in today, these guys hold out, which means most likely not. He probably will not play another snap for the Cincinnati Bengals. So where Trey Hendrickson goes, only God knows. I hope he comes back to the South and plays for Atlanta. I won't lie to you. He made life hell for the Falcons for a couple years there. But that's all we got for you guys today. This is the Early Bird Special. Join us back here tomorrow, 7 to 9 a.m. Here comes the great Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.